Okay, so now that you've sufficiently scared us, which is great and I love, do you want to talk about how we can get good sleep, how we can set our environment, what tips you have for that?
Mhm. The biggest pitfall that most people have in terms of getting good sleep is that they don't go to bed when they should. And to explain when you should go to bed, I need to give a little bit of a primer on brainwaves. We have four different types of brainwaves that we can experience throughout the day. Beta waves are probably what you and I are mostly running on right now. There, you're like, I'm alert, I'm active, I'm engaged, I'm probably working on something or thinking pretty hard in some way, shape, or form. Like most of the day when you're at work or in school or taking care of your kids or cleaning your house or whatever, that's mostly beta wave type stuff. Alpha waves are what are produced when you're in an alert and awake but more relaxed state. So shortly after you've woken up, when you're still a little groggy, that's more alpha wave. You're shifting into beta waves, but you're probably more in an alpha wave state. As you're getting tired and getting ready to go to sleep, after things like yoga or meditation or relaxation techniques, deep breathing exercises, or maybe just during a really calm, quiet part of your day, your brain might be in more of an alpha wave production mode. Theta waves are the waves that are produced in the light stages of sleep. So, like when you just drift off and you're still in kind of that fragile state where if your partner moves or your kid cries or something, you'll jolt awake, or sometimes you have those little falling dreams. That's theta waves. And
Yes.
then delta waves are the super, super deep sleep when you're pretty hard to rouse.
Hmm.
So, what a lot of people do is they essentially wait to go to bed because they don't, because we're all busy people. None of us want to waste time. And for many of us, the later hours of the night are the most peaceful, right? Maybe everyone else in the house is asleep and it's calm and it's quiet. And that might be the first time all day you've had that. And I get that.
Hmm.
But a lot of people wait until their brain is essentially in theta wave production mode, where like you legitimately are having a hard time keeping your eyes open and you're kind of nodding off in your chair on the couch, and then they go to bed.
Hmm.
That is actually too late. That's not an ideal time to go to bed. You want to get into bed right around the time that your brain is shifting into alpha wave production mode. When you're starting to feel calm, relaxed, a little tired, but not like, oh my gosh, I can barely move my body or keep my eyes open tired. If you wait that long, you've already missed part of your sleep cycle.
Oh,
Because
wow.
by the time you are feeling that way, your body and your brain are basically already trying to be asleep. And so you've kind of missed some of it. And I want to tie that back into that 32% decrease in productivity number that I mentioned earlier. Because I know a lot of people that I work with, a lot of my therapy clients, they're busy people.
Hmm.
And they stay up half an hour late to finish a project for work or something along those lines. But if you really think about that, if you are sleep deprived, and remember, 6.5 hours is mild sleep deprivation, and you're 32% less productive the next day. Let's say your average work day is 8 hours, which it is for many of us. 32%, I did the math before we talked, 32% of 8 hours is 153 minutes, or almost 2.5 hours. So if you are underslept, you're losing almost 2.5 hours of productivity the next day because you're not moving as quickly or thinking as clearly. So if you stay up an hour later than normal to finish a project, that you're getting negative returns on that. It would be better to go to sleep on time, get an adequate amount of sleep, finish that project sometime the next day. You still end up with like an hour and a half of surplus time in terms of gained productivity from your brain working better and being more efficient the next day. So, by far, my number one tip for sleep hygiene is get in bed when you start to feel just a little bit tired. It's normal and even good for it to take around 30 minutes or so to fall asleep. That's not bad. That's not insomnia is defined as it taking an hour or more to fall asleep. If you're
Oh,
experiencing
okay.
insomnia, different story, right? Then we maybe do want you to not get in bed quite as quickly. But for most people, the lack of sleep that they experience is more of a behavioral problem than insomnia per se. So that's by far my number one tip.
I feel like every business person, if they're listening to this, is going, I'm going to make sure all my employees go to bed on time because I'm getting my money's worth out of them.
They should. There was he ended up not working real well for him, but I still think this was a brilliant idea. There used to be a coach in the NFL. He was a coach of the Eagles, Chip Kelly, who tracked the sleep of all his players. I think they ended up really disliking him for various reasons, but I don't know that I honestly think that was a brilliant idea. I think he was onto something there. I'm not saying employers should track their employees' sleep schedule. That feels a little intrusive, but should find ways to help make sure they're getting adequate sleep. Yeah, I mean, what company doesn't want a 32% boost in productivity in 2021? If every single person, well, that assumes every person that's working there was underslept, but statistically speaking, most of them probably are. If everyone in that company gets enough sleep, they're going to see a huge boost in productivity.
So I heard that the insurance company Aetna, they actually track their employees' sleep, and if you get an average of 7 to 8 hours a night, they give you a $500 bonus.
I mean, that's
that's brilliant.
I think that we need to be paying more attention to it in some way, shape, or form, and yeah, rewarding people for getting it is certainly not a bad idea.
Yeah. So what about people talk about, blue light blocking glasses and not watching TV in bed and smartphones? Is there truth to that? Are those just a great way to make money? What do you recommend with that?
People that I trust tell me that blue light blocking glasses are a real thing. I haven't personally looked into that research myself yet. I've listened to other people who I usually think know what they're talking about, and most of them seem to say it's a real thing, and but really the ideal situation is that you're not exposing yourself to screens right before bed anyway. Blue light blocking glasses are kind of a damage control method.
Okay.
Because ideally, it kind of goes back to brainwaves. Most of the things that you can do in front of a screen are stimulating. And even if, again, I'm not 100% clear on the research about whether the light itself is or isn't stimulating, but even if you disregard that, what do you do on your phone or on your computer or in front of your TV that isn't stimulating?
That's true.
Right. I know there are like calming apps and things like that, but when you use those, my understanding, I don't personally have any of them, is that you're not really looking at the screen, and they're more providing like guided meditation or nature sounds or something like that. So at that point, it's no different than like listening to a CD. Okay. But if you are on social media, that's stimulating. If you're shopping, that's stimulating. If you're watching YouTube, that's stimulating. Like that's the whole point. Basically, the whole point of having a smartphone is stimulating activities. So in general, you just want to avoid any activity that's stimulating within around an hour or so of bedtime, because that's going to interfere with your brain's natural progression from beta waves to alpha waves and eventually theta waves. It's going to make it harder for you